Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel, or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison. With me, as always, is Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Claire, what are we watching this week?
So this week, we sat down to watch a short film called 37 Things. It's written and directed by Zane Roach, and it stars Scott Marcus in the main role, and it's narrated by Charles Mayer. It's about a guy called Timothy Owen, and he can only remember 37 things at a time. So it means if he has to get a bowl of cereal, something else knocks out of his head, or if he thinks of this love interest, Emily, all the time, and he's afraid to lose that memory. So every time he has to do something, he knocks other stuff out. Like he forgets, when he's had a bowl of cereal, he forgets, he actually drinks drain fluid by an accident because he doesn't realize. So that's the premise. And the way it goes on, it's kind of a really unusual film. It's a comedy, but there's a slight melancholic element to it and kind of a bit of a tragedy, but it's told in a really humorous way. It's a mixture of black and white and color, and sometimes it's color and black and white together. And I think I really enjoyed the film. It's very, the editing is amazing. Like whoever did the graphics, there's a lot of graphics in this. Like you see a part of his brain and all little memories he has, memories or things being kicked out of his brain. And then he ends up going to a supermarket and you see these amazing colored escalators, and he's really overwhelmed with all this information. And there's really humorous parts because he's trying to remember the beautiful love interest, Emily, and all of a sudden he sees an advertisement for a film. So, he's afraid that her memory of her will get knocked out. I just thought it was really well acted because he had to play with being slightly over the top yet very real and a bit comedic and melancholic. And I just thought it was really well done with really good pacing to it, really good beats. And I loved the voiceover. The voiceover really made it. And it reminded me of a film we actually reviewed, 1500 Words, which was kind of a similar premise and very similar voiceover. I just really, really enjoyed it. And there's some laugh out loud moments with unusual clouds he sees, unusual things happens to it. But yeah, I thought it was really terrific. And I love these type of films that have a certain kind of comedic pacing to them, yet have a message as well underneath. So what did you think of it?
Yeah, I agree. It was the right balance of quirky and seriousness. The mix of the green screen stuff with the actual being out stuff and in the house, just the way it mixed everything together blended so perfectly, which is really hard to do because you could watch something that they try to do this and they do it terribly, and it's jarring whenever they're going from one thing to another. But either the black and white and the color and you're right, the narration and stuff, it's just it's like a fairy tale, but it's not. And it's just really lovely done. It is kind of funny because I did have to occasionally be like, okay, you need to accept this as reality, right? Because there's how is he only remember 37 things? How would he know which direction to walk in and that kind of stuff? Yeah. And so there's a lot of that. I'm like, the feasibility of it doesn't work, but you really just need to ignore that and just to appreciate it for the quirky little film that it is. His reactions are fantastic. The guy's the eye movements and just the way he reacts to everything is just is super hilarious. I don't want to give too much away by talking about it, but I'm with you. I think it really mixes everything across the board just splendidly.
I agree. It's supremely well made, but at the same time, I started out not liking this film. initially I just felt really, really sad. I'm really sorry for the guy. What a horrible idea, that this person lives in. It was like this prison of only having 37 memories, or only 37 things that he can remember. And I'm thinking of somebody like with Alzheimer's disease, for instance, and that's a very real thing. And making a joke out of it, and I just I'm not liking this at all. And then I was prepared to rip the shreds out of this film, halfway through. And there was certain inconsistencies, like you say. For instance, how could he understand language? Like, I mean, that's multiple thousands of memories.
Language is grouped as one thing. It's like language is one memory.
I can only remember the language. I can only remember the contents of Wikipedia. It's another thing. But actually, sort of towards the end, like the last sort of 5 minutes, I changed my opinion on it. I kind of flipped 180, 170 degrees. And I got, okay, I'm missing the point here. This film, it's not really a comedy. It's about what, like, the things that we should find important, because we all have these. We always a finite number of memories, like things we know. It's quite large. It's more than 37, but and we do sort of lose sight of a lot of things that are important, like laughter, and love, I suppose. So kind of that was sort of the ultimate message, that even though things kind of ended tragically, spoiler alert, that he went out happy,
Yeah.
So I kind of changed my opinion about it.
I actually watched it twice because I think it was one of those films you can watch a few times. And yeah, like the some people would hate the type of film because they might think it's way over the top, but there's such a brilliant message in it. And it is quite sad, especially on a second watch of it, because if you think about it, like we all hold some valuable memories, and some memories aren't as crystal clear as others, and and some memories we've forgotten about, and they're there somewhere. But imagine if we only had 37 things that we could remember, or people's faces, like he's his love interest, and he wants to hold on that memory in his head. There's such a beautiful message in this. And as you said, if someone has Alzheimer's or dementia, like what memories are they holding on to? What memories are they losing? It's a really powerful message. And that kind of took me by surprise when afterwards, when I began to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've made that joke to people when they like say something to me, and it's like, oh man, now that had replaced some useful memory in my head. Or like you watch a movie and you're like, oh man, what did I lose that has now been replaced with this stupid film? Like stuff like that. Because you do think about memories in that way, especially with people that like, family members that have passed away or stuff like that. And it's like, I don't want to lose this memory. And the sad thing is when you lose it, you don't know you've lost it because, it's gone. And to have that where you're distinctly aware of that in your life is like, okay, I need to focus and not lose these key items of what I know. It is really tragic, and it's true. It does happen to people. It happens to all of us to an extent.
And it's funny because especially with the moment where he's thinking about his love interest, and then this action film, this cheesy action film.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, that's exactly like, he's like, oh no, it knocks out the other memory. It's such a brilliant, genius way of telling this thing, and I'm sure I'd love to talk to the writer and seeing what was his original inspiration, because I'm sure this was, it was probably had memories. He probably thought about that, about losing certain memories and stupid things knocking out other memories. I'd love to talk to him and see what the background is,
Wasn't there a Homer Simpson joke about that? He says, Tamara, do you remember that time I went to the wine tasting course and then I forgot how to drive? And she's, that's because you were drunk.
Yeah, it's so good. And actually, the production design in this as well, we have to give absolutely amazing green screen. You know, it
Yeah.
was
Just
like amazing, really. You know?
yeah, that's the thing. They bounce around across the board. Like everything is just brilliant. There's
the graphics, especially when he's in the shop. The shop, what is it? Shop Hollis? Shop, we know the supermarkets.
The supermarket. And I like, the generic, everything's generic milk, generic cereal.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like that's huge production design in that. Does he like an artist?
A lot of work,
this, you know, and in the cloud.
Yeah, exactly. What's a lot? I mean, 37 is an oddly specific number. I wonder was it just a random figure they picked, or has it any relation to anything? I doubt it.
Wonder actually.
Yeah,
is there 37?
Definitely would be a question for the writer.
Yeah. Like it's funny. Maybe I must Google that afterwards. Google it if you're watching this.
Look him up. Well, should we rate it?
Okay.
Colin?
Yeah, I'll go first. So as I've already said, my opinion of it changed. So my emotions were kind of a bit all over the place, which is a good thing. Rarely has a film managed to make me change my opinion in the middle of it. So for that reason, I'll give it 4 stars.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those, I laughed, I cried, I laughed, I cried. I didn't really cry, but like along those lines. And it was just a great journey of a film. So I'm going to go 5 stars.
Wow. That's brilliant. Yeah, for me, it was that's why I loved doing this program, because we get to discover these little gems, and I'd love to see other stuff this writer and director has done. I loved it. It's such a beautiful message told in a very quirky way, and through a comedic device as well as a more tragic, unusual device. Huge kudos to the production and everything, the cinematographer involved in this and everyone involved. So for me, it's 5 stars.
Well, there you have it. No Budget audience. We really enjoyed this film. We'll, of course, throw the link out there so you can watch it. Let us know what you think on social media at No Budget Show, or leave a comment or something like that. And with that, we'll say, see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye. I was waiting for you, Claire, to go after your glowing review there at the end. Go, and that's why I'm going to give you 2.5 stars.
I know, totally. I loved that film. It's 3 stars.
I know, but you know what? I'm so glad I chose this film. As I said, I love discovering these films. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't watch, I wouldn't search.
You wouldn't think to, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's one.
It changes your mind.
Yeah.